Hello and welcome to the top end of the Piccadlly line. That's right, we're heading out into Zone 5 on a slightly bouncy train, but at least it's not that noisy as we go to the top to Cockfosters and episode 6 of End of the Line. Alright, made it to Cockfosters with the a view of the depot back there behind me, but looking this way, down the station, 3 platforms, 1, 2, 3, and there's this magnificent concrete train shed which we do need to acknowledge straight away. Yes, Cockfosters was part of the northern extension to the Piccadlly line that opened in 1933. And the brick, glass and concrete station was created by design legend Charles Holden, who designed several stations on this part of the Piccadilly. The train shed at the other end of the Piccadilly line at Uxbridge is of a very similar design and is meant to represent an end-to-end point of the whole line. And the architecture is just fabulous to look at. The platform canopies are supported by pull-to frames of narrow blade-like concrete columns and beams rising from the platforms and spanning across the tracks. There's also original signage, gorgeous lighting, these nice benches and this classic clock as well, which just looks great. So it's no surprise that the whole station is Grade 2 listed. Oh, and actually, the station was almost called Trent Park, but we'll go to the actual Trent Park later to find out why it's actually called Cockfosters. Incidentally, behind the buffers here on all 3 platforms, there are these buffer overrun sections. You can see it's just this sort of boring grey with a metal mesh over the top of it. This used to be a flower bed. When I was here 10 years ago, there were flowers, and then station staff had planted little gnomes inside the flower bed. Now it's just this drab grey thing. TFL? What happened to the flowers? And more importantly, what happened to the gnomes? On each platform, by the way, there are these little tiny yellow waiting shelters. They're very fitting and in keeping with the design of the station. However, I think they're just used by contract cleaners, and I don't actually think a passenger would ever sit in one of these yellow waiting shelters. They're kind of cool though. The other thing that looks great is the ticket hall itself, where I found this mirror. The ticket hall is just beautiful as well. You can just stand here admiring the Charles Holden design of the ticket hall here at Cockfosters. Although my favourite bit is over there where it says public telephones. Obviously there are no payphones nowadays, so if you want to make a call you have to use your own cell phone. Hello Geoff. Hello. The reports are that there's a car park outside. Yeah, that's right, we are in the car park at Cockfosters. The building to note is that one there. That's where the drivers book on, and sometimes you'll see them enter the station via a little sneaky staircase which takes them to their trains quicker rather than walking around the front. But we are in the car park, and there is a running theme, isn't there, in End of the Line. I think all the stations so far, except Brixton, have had a car park. I'm fine with that. That can become the running joke catchphrase to shout for this series. Car park. I exited Cockfosters tube station using the main entrance, turned right and realised it was time to go for a literal 5-minute walk down the road, and that brings you to Trent Country Park, a magnificent place to cycle, walk, come out for the day, go for a jog, go for a run. There's Trent Country Park House as well. It's huge, it's a huge open, many acres of land, and just reading online, apparently they once filmed an episode, Peter Davison, of Doctor Who here. It's nice. And the country park seems like a good as place as any, sat by the cafe which is currently closed, to discuss the elephant in the room, and that is where the name Cockfosters, 'tis such a silly name, comes from. Some people saying it comes after an 18th century pub, the Cock or the Cock Inn, that's just down the road. But if you just read online, and I will read verbatim simply what it says online, you can find out the fact that the name was recorded as far back as 1524, and is thought to be either the name of a family or that of a house which stood on Enfield Chase. We are in the London Borough of Enfield. One suggestion is that it was the residence of the Cock Forester or Chief Forester. So Chief Forester becomes Cock Forester, becomes Cockfosters, 2 words, becomes Cockfosters, 1 word. And now you know. So I mentioned the London Borough of Enfield there, which brings me to an extremely nerdy and niche fact, and that is within the boundary of the Greater London area, Cockfosters is actually the northernmost tube station, just beating High Barnet just by a little bit. Obviously there are other stations that are further north, but within the confines of the London boundary, Cockfosters is the most northerly tube station in London. Anyway, I detract because behind me, Chalk Lane, and I just mentioned Tube Challenge for a second. We mentioned it at Amersham, we mentioned it at West Ruislip as well, and this is a very popular place to change between here, one end of the line, over to another, which is about 5 kilometres in that direction, and that's High Barnet. Getting between Cockfosters and High Barnet has always been a tricky thing to do. One popular strategy is just to reverse here at Cockfosters, go back down to Oakwood, pick up a bus, I think it's a 307 from there, or you can just run for 20, 25, 30 minutes down here, down a hill, into the valley and back up again, starting at Chalk Lane, if you're feeling fit, which I no longer am. And across the road from the station, take a note of the bus stand and shelter, which is of a very nice design as well, and is very much part of the station, and that there are steps here, 2 sets down, that lead you to a subway that take you under the main road and into the ticket hall area. I also love that this subway is officially part of the path of the London Loop. That's the circular walk around London. Cockfosters is the moment that joins together sections 16 and 17 of the circuit around London. And that is the end of the line here at the top of the Piccadilly at Cockfosters. This is one definitely worth visiting. If you've never been, grab your Oyster card or your bank contactless card, come out this weekend to the top of the Pic, come and see the splendid wonder that is Cockfosters. Press subscribe, playlist coming up. Thanks a lot.
Piccadilly line, the next train to Hampton Town.